Next on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
Oh, I like to introduce myself as Ted Alexander. I'm a used Sunlight salesman.
We're heading to Kansas, where the winner of the Regional Environmental Stewardship Award has a unique way of describing his role in the beef business. Also, how you can work to help protect your calves from scours. Plus, we'll learn more about the Beef Industry Food Safety Council.
And now, NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman with your host, Susie Ross.
Hello, I'm Susie Ross. Thanks for watching Cattleman to Cattleman. Leading our cattle industry news this week, USDA officials are optimistic that Russia will soon reopen to U.S. beef exports. Russia's audit team is expected to complete its review of the U.S. industry this month, which should open the door for renewed trade.
We had an agreement in writing with the Russians that said they would agree to take all of our beef under 30 months of age until the U.S. received our OIE controlled risk status. And once we received that, they would agree to take all beef and beef products regardless of age. The only stipulation is that they needed to come over here and go through an audit process and looking at our plants. And it has been extremely frustrating to get those guys over here and get that done.
Russia is one of the world's largest beef importers. It was once the 5th largest market for U.S. beef exports and the #1 market for beef liver.
They are the biggest market for South American beef, whether it's Argentina or Brazil. So that's a very, very big market that we're excited about having a chance to get back in for the first time in 3.5 years.
For more on NCBA's efforts to increase beef exports, visit cattlemantocattleman.org. The Beef Industry Food Safety Council brings together industry partners to help solve the problem of E. coli 0157H7. Joining us today with more on the efforts of BIFSCO is Tim Bila. Tim is the Chief Food Safety Officer for Texas American Food Service and a founding member of BIFSCO. Tim, thanks for joining us on the show today.
You're welcome.
Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about Texas American Food Service?
Texas American's been in business for about 35 years. We're a ground beef and solely ground beef producer. We produce about 1.5 million pounds of ground beef every day.
Wow, 1.5 million pounds of ground beef every day. That's a lot of ground beef.
That's a lot of ground beef.
Yes, it is. I'm thinking you're the perfect person to ask this next question. How safe is our beef supply?
The beef that we have today in the marketplace is safer than it's ever been. We've always had good systems and process controls, but today, through the efforts of BIFSCO, it's even safer.
Okay. Finally, Tim, it seems like much of the news that we hear today about E. coli 0157H7 is recalls related to the produce industry. What can the produce industry learn from the beef industry to manage this tough pathogen?
It is a tough pathogen, and let's make that clear. It's not something that you approach and then walk away from. One of the things that the beef industry learned very early on was that food safety is not a competitive advantage. And so experts from every part of the industry and from corporations throughout America became involved in the Beef Industry Food Safety Council. And we shared best practices, and through that process and the summit for 0157H7 developed best practices that are now utilized in every portion of the production chain.
Okay. Thanks, Tim, for joining us today, and thanks also for the time that you've dedicated to industry-wide best practices and continuing to keep our beef supply safe.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to having you again. For more information on BIFSCO, you can check us out at cattlemantocattleman.org. We're taking a look at this year's Regional Environmental Stewardship Award winners. This week, we're heading to Sun City, Kansas, and the Alexander Ranch. Let's take a look.
Nearly 7,000 acres make up the Alexander Ranch, located in the Red Hills of south central Kansas. Here, cattle thrive on the grass, nurtured with expert care by Ted Alexander, who has an unusual way of describing his operation.
Oh, I like to introduce myself as Ted Alexander. I'm a used Sunlight salesman. It kind of is a different approach to harvesting grass. You know, instead of being a grass farmer, I'm a used Sunlight salesman.
Selling used Sunlight in the form of grass for cattle has worked out well for Ted. He founded his custom grazing operation in 1984 after a career as an art educator. Today, several long-term customers rely on Ted to provide spring and summer forage for their herds.
The reason we come here to Ted's place is because He has an understanding of rotational grazing and grass management, and he also does a great job of handling the cattle.
I graze their cows by the head by the day, and they wean their calves late in around the 15th of August, 1st September. The calves are gone, and that lowers my stocking rate at a critical time. So that works for me, it works for them.
You wouldn't know it now, but when Ted started, this land was more than 75% covered by eastern red cedar trees, an invasive species that crowded out native grasses. Ted controlled the red cedars using fire and other means, transforming his ranch.
I have about a 10 to 15% cedars, and it's mostly in my canyons that fire hasn't been able to carry through. The forage production, I've come up to close to 150% more stock than I used to carry. I keep more of the water on the ranch. I've got canyons now that are flowing water, springs that are flowing. The forage production has just exploded over the last 15 to 20 years.
An early adopter of rotational grazing, Ted ranched on his own for many years. Now his son Brian has returned to be a part of the operation.
While I was still in the military, about halfway through my 8.5-year service, I decided I wanted to come back here and be a part of my dad's dream and live close to the land. And part of that is helping regenerate the land and living close to it and trying to live in harmony with nature and not fight against the system.
Working cattle in harmony with nature is a fundamental principle on Alexander Ranch. For example, Ted has a detailed drought plan that guides his effort to balance grass growth with stocking rates. And he's working with the Fish and Wildlife Service to protect habitat for threatened species, including a fish known as the arc darter.
One of the projects that we're hoping to do this summer and this winter would be to come in and try to remove some of these cedar trees and open that up and hopefully provide better in-stream vegetation for these fish to survive.
Over the years, NRCS partnerships have helped Ted refine his rangeland management, create new ponds on the ranch, and make use of solar power to pump water to stock tanks.
Of course, the solar system then is a great thing to put the water away from any of the riparian areas or any of the streams so that those can grow grass rather than being bare from the cattle walking in it all the time.
Clean the solar panel, turn it on, it's free energy. Because of where I live, there aren't any power lines. All of my electric fences are powered by solar energizers with deep cycle batteries, so I use a lot of solar power.
When you look at what he has done as far as stewardship on his own ranch, the impacts are far greater and far wider than just what happens inside his boundaries. Because he's been willing to share, thousands of acres have benefited because others have been able to learn from his success.
In fact, Ted's willingness to share his knowledge and invest time in mentoring other producers is another aspect of his stewardship.
He's just more than willing to help other ranchers, and he doesn't keep all the knowledge that he's gained over the past 20-some years to himself. He really wants to see other ranchers succeed, and that means the world to me.
Though he left his art career behind, for the past 23 years, Ted Alexander has been working to build his masterpiece of ranching stewardship.
This is the work in process. Will it ever finish? No. It'll never finish. And I hope that legacy moves on to my boy and to all the young guys and young ladies that I've been fortunate, gifted to have in this community to mentor and to communicate with.
The National ESAP Award winner will be announced in February at the industry's annual convention and trade show in Reno, Nevada. For more information, head to our website at cattlemantocattleman.org. Working to protect your calves from scours is an important animal health practice on your operation. Ahead, tips on how best to protect against and treat scours in calves. Plus, we'll head to Chicago as kids taste test new beef recipes. But first, here's a look at this week's market summary provided by CattleFax.
Patience may be a virtue, but when cattle are down with shipping fever, you don't have time to be patient. And that's why Baytril 100 was designed specifically for first-line treatment of bovine respiratory disease, for use by or on the order of a licensed veterinarian. Extra label use in food-producing animals is prohibited. Ask your veterinarian for more information. When it's BRD, patience isn't an option. Choose Baytril 100, right the first time.
Our Quarter Pounder with cheese is made from 100% pure USDA beef. That means there's 0% anything else. That's what we're made of.
Purina's wind and rain minerals are research tested and field proven to provide balanced mineral nutrition essential for cattle health, growth, and reproduction. They're highly palatable so cattle consume what they need when they need it. And wind and rain minerals special formulation resists the elements so they won't blow out of the feeder and maintain their palatability even if they've been wet. Wind and rain cattle minerals from Purina Mills, building better cattle.
Welcome back to Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Calf health is a major component of your operations efficiency. That's why having a strategy to protect against and treat scours is especially important. Let's head to Stillwater, Minnesota, and Dr. John Rogers.
Steve, it sure looks like the grass is making a nice comeback from the recent rains we've had.
Yes, we were very fortunate that we were probably about a week away when we received the rain and of having to feed hay to these cattle. And as you know, the profitability is not there for the beef industry to feed hay in the summertime. So we're very happy.
That's good. We're here with Steve Grogan of Kelly Land and Cattle Company. Steve, tell us a little bit about your operation here.
Well, we're located about 30 miles northeast of the Twin Cities. We have about 3,000 acres on the place, and we change our operations a little bit each year, but this year we ran about 600 head of cow calves.
That's great. We're here to talk a little bit about scours and scours management. Can you tell us a little bit about how you proceed with your scours prevention programs?
Well, this year we used the product and we gave them the 2 shots, and it worked very well. On the 600 head of cow calves, we had no scours, so it couldn't have worked any better than that.
That's great.
Can you, for some of the other breeders, give us a little information on why we should be using these scour products?
Sure. Management for scours issue can be very complex and a very complex issue to manage from year to year. Scours can cause a lot of different syndromes. Of course, scours can cause diarrhea. That diarrhea can lead to dehydration. It can lead to hypoglycemia, and it also can lead to death. So there's a lot of serious issues related to the management of scours.
So how prevalent is scours in the industry?
Scours can be a very significant issue when it comes to cow-calf production. We see scours as probably one of the leading causes of production losses, both from the production standpoint and an economic standpoint. Calves experience scours early in life can reduce their gain, and weaning weights can be as much as 35 pounds lighter due to the scours. So it can be a very significant problem when it comes to both production and economics.
So in your opinion, we as cattlemen, what do you feel that we can do to manage this problem?
Steve, when we look at the management issues related to calf scours, we can kind of take a look at 2 approaches. One, the organisms that cause calf scours, we'd like to not have them cause any issues as far as exposure to the calf. So we can look at issues related to keeping the calf away from those organisms that cause the scours. And secondly, if that calf is exposed to those organisms, we'd like to have protection in that calf that comes through the colostrum of the cow. We'd like to have that calf protected from those organisms if they are exposed to those organisms.
John, in our operation, we've always vaccinated pre-calving. Is this the best method for an operation to use?
Steve, when we look at that calf being able to fight off scours, we look at that calf receiving some good antibodies against those scour organisms. that calf actually receives through the colostrum from the cow. So we need to use a good solid vaccination program in our cow herds in order to provide those calves with good solid immunity from colostrum. We know that cows start to concentrate colostrum probably 5 weeks and continues till 2 weeks pre-calving. So our vaccination programs then need to be timed with that production of colostrum, and we need to follow labeled directions on scours vaccinations very closely in order to maximize our scours protection in those calves.
When we come back, we'll learn how the effective management of scours can have a positive impact on your operation.
People have different views of what they think's attractive. And while a SelectVac tag doesn't do anything for this dog, it certainly makes calves more attractive to buyers. In fact, SelectVac calves attract up to $29 more per head. No wonder millions of calves have already been enrolled. Ask your veterinarian or animal health supplier about SelectVac, the premier branded preconditioning program, and raise more attractive calves.
2 100% pure USDA inspected patties are only the beginning of what make the Big Mac famous, and that's what we're made of.
Fort Dodge Animal Health knows your animals are an important part of your way of life. That's why we're committed to providing you with a complete family of livestock vaccines and pharmaceuticals to protect your investments, save you time, and ensure quality and safety in your operation. Your herd and your horses are important to you. That's why they're important to us. Fort Dodge Animal Health. For more information on our entire family of livestock products, visit us online.
Welcome back. Let's head back to Minnesota and Dr. Rogers for more on effective scours management.
John, I've noticed in our herd that when they get scours, can it affect them for their whole life, and how does that affect us economically?
Steve, that's very true. I think it's easy to see the calves' reduction in their average daily gain when they're on the cow, but we've also, a lot of studies have shown that not only do they have reduced weaning weights, but if you take these calves in through the feedlot phase, they've also got poorer carcass quality, and they don't have the average daily gain potential that they would have had if they had not had the scours early in life. So I think some of the new data will tell us that it will affect them throughout their entire life.
So John, if I had some cows that I wasn't able to get vaccinated and I was concerned about the scours, what would your program be to attack that?
Steve, from a cattleman's perspective, we need to look at ways to prevent that calf from being exposed to the organisms that cause calf scours. Those management techniques would be things like isolating calves that do get scours away from calves that aren't experiencing scours, so we don't pass it from those that do have scours onto those calves that are healthy. So we want to look at those kind of situations, keeping that cow healthy, keeping things from a management perspective related to animal husbandry techniques prior to calving, clean, dry calving areas, moving out those calves when they get a little bit older so we can calve in areas where things are clean and dry. So those are some of the things we could take a look at to provide opportunities to prevent scours in those calves. If you would spend money and time on scours prevention programs, do you see that being beneficial?
I think it's very beneficial in our program. As I said earlier, in this past year, we vaccinated all our cows and we had no scours. And we do practice the things that you mentioned. In past years, before vaccines were as adept as they are now, or before they even came out, we did have scour problems, and it's not only does it affect you immediately with the cost of the treatment of the calf, as you mentioned, on down the road, a lot of these calves were smaller, and in some cases they never recovered. They were a calf that was lighter throughout their life, and on the feedlot end of it, the feedlot people hate those kind of calves because they're more prone to sicknesses throughout their life, and they don't gain as well. They don't get sold with the rest of the group in the lot, and so it's a problem all the way down the line.
So Steve, basically when we look at the economic implications of a good solid scours prevention program, we need to look at good solid vaccination programs so that calf has good immunity against scours, and also management techniques to prevent that calf from being exposed to those scours organisms. So overall you would see this as a very positive economic impact on overall herd performance.
Oh, definitely. It like I said, it's a major part of our program, and I can recommend it to anyone that because you're ahead of the game instead of behind the game. You're preventing instead of treating.
So prevention is the key.
Definitely.
For more information on scours prevention and treatment, head to cattlemantocattleman.org. We'll be right back.
Agriculture is a small portion of the population now, and if we're not working together, we're not going to get anywhere.
As our family, we cannot be in Washington, D.C. all the time, and I just couldn't live without NCBA representing.
They're looking out for our interests. They're there fighting for us every day.
If you got 1 cow or 2 cows or 100 cows, you need to be a member.
I'm a member of the NCBA because a long time ago, 35 years ago, I felt that I needed to know more of what my industry is doing. So I got started at the county level. If you're in the cattle industry, now's the time to join and let your voice be heard loud and clear.
You need NCBA working for you, and NCBA needs you. It's easy to join. Just call, get online, or talk with your state affiliate and sign up today.
And now, this week's Management Minute.
Timing of vaccination to prevent scours is extremely important. Vaccinating too early or too late can decrease the efficacy of vaccine to prevent scours. If we look at the cow's ability to concentrate antibodies in the colostrum, that starts about 5 weeks prior to calving and continues to about 2 weeks prior to calving. So it's important to follow the manufacturer's labeled directions when it comes to vaccinating for scours in the cow-calf herd.
NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, a television show by cattlemen for cattlemen.
Welcome back. It's a popular question as students return to school. How did you spend your summer vacation? Well, for some kids in the Chicago area, they had a chance to taste new beef recipes. The kids say they found some new beef tastes they really loved. Beef and Veal Culinary Center Executive Chef Dave Zinno says it was exciting to hear the kids' opinions.
I'm Colleen, and I like probably goulash.
Goulash? Okay.
We're continuing to enjoy the legacy photos you send our way each and every week. Let's take a look at a new round of photos. Please do keep sending those photos. To do so, head to our website at cattlemantocattleman.org. Next week, our second piece in a 3-part series, looking at how to manage BRD for the best treatment response. Plus, how the Beef Checkoff is working to improve beef demand. And as always, your news and market headlines. Thanks for joining us on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Be sure to tune in next week. A new episode airs every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern Time, right here on RFD TV.